the National Broadcasting Commission in Nigeria has asked all social media platforms and online broadcasting service providers operating in Nigeria to apply for a broadcasting license. Armstrong Idabchaba, the NBC Director General, gave the directive in a newspaper advertorial published on Thursday. This follows the federal government's announcement that Twitter and other social media platforms must register as a Nigerian company for them to operate in Africa's largest economy. Once again, the United States Department of State has officially voiced its opposition to Nigeria's suspension of Twitter. Official statement from Ned Price, spokesperson for the U.S. State Department, said the action by Nigeria to suspend Twitter and threats to arrest anyone using the platform are officially condemned. The United States said, quote, unduly restricting the ability of Nigerians to report, gather, and disseminate opinions and information has no place in a democracy. The statement also said freedom of expression and access to information, both online and offline, are foundational to prosperous and secure democracies. Joining us to discuss further is Ijeoma Uju, partner at Templars Law Firm. To discuss further, good morning to you, Ijeoma. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Rotus.
Great to have you.
To be here.
Exactly, I'm great to have you. Let's look at the overview of I'll ask a question here. Does the NBC have the power to regulate OTT, over-the-top services and over the counter, and also social media companies?
Rotus, it is that is not. There's no straightforward answer to that.
Okay.
Yes, it's not straightforward. So the NBC derives its powers from the NBC Act. So that law empowers the NBC to control and regulate broadcasting services.
Right.
So broadcasting services have been traditionally viewed as TV, cable, satellite, TV,
yes,
like yourself, Arise TV.
Exactly.
You know, but there's also language in that same law that extends to any other medium of broadcasting. So the NBC Act generally gives the NBC the power, to regulate and to control. So it prohibits you from acting inconsistently with the Act. So cable TV is very clear, and any other radio, traditional means of broadcasting, satellites. And then it now goes on to say any other medium of broadcasting.
Right.
So let's just park that.
Right, okay.
And then digital broadcasting has been growing. There's so much innovation. And of course, the regulators will do what they want to do. They will regulate.
Right.
So the NBC, under its powers, have been issuing regulations. So they've issued a code called the NBC Code. And even as recently as last year, 2020, there was an amendment to the code, sixth amendment to the code, actually. And that code, in a way, tended to extend to OTT services. I'll tell you how.
Okay.
So there is a there's a provision in there that says if you are doing online or web services, then you are subject to the control of the NBC, and you should register.
Right.
So the crucial question now is, are social media and OTT services
Should they be
broadcasting services? So that's the crucial question.
Right. That is the crucial question.
That's the crucial question, because that will answer your question. So there are various schools of thought. Even internationally and globally.
Okay.
So most people think that, because of the manner in which social media is a conduit. But in 2021, can we honestly say
that it's not a broadcaster?
That is not a broadcaster.
Right.
Is your Twitter, is your YouTube? How do you define that? So it's very important for us to define that. We don't know. The coin has not fallen yet. The regulator will. So that is where the NBC is getting its ambit from and its powers from, and is saying they are broadcasting, they should be subject, they are operating in Nigeria. So yes, so there's a leeway for these OTT services, because the NBC goes further to say persons that are operating in Nigeria, and most of these services don't have operations in Nigeria.
Right.
And also the interesting thing is that same code also makes reference to international broadcasters, and the international broadcasters are not expected to register, but they are supposed to recognize the code and the laws of Nigeria. So are they supposed to register, or does the NBC have the powers? Conservatively, I'll say, as it is currently drafted, I would say no, conservatively. But the regulator definitely has some leeway.
Thank you. That's very illustrative there. Okay, so should this is your general question here, should OTT services and social media platforms even be regulated? I guess that's the $65 billion question or whatever.
$65 billion? I think it would be more. Should they be regulated?
Yeah.
The truth is, Brutus, regulating is not of itself a bad thing.
Okay.
Regulating is not a bad thing at all. Regulating or licensing, I mean, whichever one you want it, whichever word you want to use.
Yeah.
What it is the extent, the scope of the regulation. Because all over the world, and not just in Nigeria, as businesses grow, as they expand, as they impact the economy, government is going to come in and want to regulate and want to see it's impacting people's lives, people are involved, its citizens are involved. So there's nothing wrong with regulating. What is wrong is when such regulation, as in this case, and as the hue and cry has been, wants to infringe on free speech or other constitutionally guaranteed rights. And particularly because it's social media, because it's a business, really.
Right.
Businesses are regulated. Oil and gas services in Nigeria are regulated. There's pretty not any business that has grown, that is not regulated. But what are you regulating? It's okay to regulate content because, as we know, social media has grown bigger than anybody would have ever envisaged, and it's still going somewhere.
Indeed.
So do you want to, get ahead of the game? You have hate speech on social media. You have content that children should not. So what content do you want to regulate all over the world? Like, for instance, in Singapore, it is regulated. Singapore has a code, and the social media platforms there must abide by that code. If not, there are stiff penalties. The US has talked about regulation. I mean, the US that is supposed to be our free country. But I think their FCC, that's their Federal Communications Commission. By the time they got a draft, it was heavy-handed. So they packed it. The EU is in talks to regulate. So there's nothing wrong with regulation. What is wrong is, do you want to stifle free speech through the regulation? And another concern really is that, okay, you say you want to regulate. When you regulate, right? Down the line, because Nigeria in particular, you say come and be licensed.
Right.
And people are asking, license for what? We don't know the scope, we don't know the ambit yet. What is the extent of this license? And even if at this point the regulation is liberal, or the license you give is liberal and still allows you some flexibility, the concern is that down the line you change the rules and you say, oh, A, B, C, D, no, let's go to X, Y, Z. And it's a genuine concern.
What about the impact of this advertorial that we've seen from the NBC? What's the impact on OTT services?
What is the impact?
There's the editorial right there. Yeah, there it is. So what is the impact on what they've done here? Well,
Rotis, make no mistake about it. The impact right now is that OTT services are required to register. So unless, and I'm hoping, well, I'm a lawyer, as you know, so unless it's set aside by a court in Nigeria, then they are required to register as it is. So that is the immediate impact for them. So obviously there are other economic issues that will attract. Would they want to come? Because you have various businesses, in Nigeria that are impacted by this. But for the OTT services, make no mistake about it, they are required to register unless the government backtracks or it's set aside by competent court.
Ijeoma Uju, partner at Templars, the law firm. Thank you so much for illustrating our minds here on what the way forward and understanding what's going on here between the NBC, the federal government, and OTT services and social.